Happillon, you're Maître Écailler in French. How do you
Right.
translate that in English?
Well, in English will be a shellfish master.
You're French, you're from the south of France.
Correct.
And you've moved to Los Angeles to now take care of oysters and deliver oysters to us. You actually went to school to study.
To study how to raise and grow oyster and shellfish. So it's a special type of school in France. You know, it's not the culinary background. It's more like you become a fishmonger. You know how to raise oyster, shrimps, fish, and I learned how to raise oyster and to love oyster, which in France started early on.
So since we're on the west coast of the US, you are selling at the market or at private parties. You come over. I can't find you you don't have your own store. You go different places. So in order to find you, we have to go to your website oystersgourmet.com. Everything is on there. What restaurant you are that evening, or what market you're going to farmers market. I can also have you at my house to have your own. You bring your own bar and display everything, and you explain to people what they're having in their plate. So tell us what we have tonight.
Well, tonight we've got three of my favorite oysters. We got two oysters from the Californias. I mean, Californias include Mexico also, and one from the Hood Canal, Puget Sound, Washington State. So first we've got the blonde from Carlsbad.
So we have to explain, depending on where they are,
Yes.
what the sun, the water, the quality of the water, the heat of the water, the current in the water, they're completely different. The stronger the current, the harder the shell, because it has to fight against the water, right?
Absolutely. That's what we talk. We call that in France the miroir. So terroir, it's what the land bestow upon the crop or the grape. Miroir, it's what the ocean bestow upon mostly shellfish, because they are non-motile, so they can really imprint all the quality of the water. So the chemistry of the water. So they impact the taste of the oyster in many ways. First, when they feed, the type of plankton gonna give this finish that we get on the oyster. Sometimes it's nutty, sometimes it's kind of metallic. That's one thing. The temperature of the water gonna give you a firm or soft flesh. The geography of the place, according to what type of mineral you get, gonna influence also basically the plankton. So in the case of the blonde from Carlsbad, everybody said, well, but Carlsbad, what's special about it? Well, there's something very special. There's a lot of upwheel that's come from far away, and that bring all this wealth of nutrition. That's basically give this yeasty finish of the oyster. We will test that after, but it's like having, when you drink champagne, you get a little bit of yeast, the nut of it in your throat. That's what you're going to find in this oyster, and they're all different. We've got this one, which
yeah,
is,
you can without tasting, you can tell they completely look different. Once
Yes.
you have them next to each other, it's like they're oysters, but they are completely different from one to another.
Absolutely. They are different in the form of the shape of the shell, but they are also different on the color of the flesh and the texture. The blonde being quite blonde, you can tell why they call that in the Carlsbad blonde, with a color that's a very fine color of yellow color on the shell due to the sand content. You've got the Sol Azul, which is a Barakov, it's from Mexico. It's kind of a greenish color, like the fin de Claire we've got in France. And then we've got an oyster. This is a bald point from the Hood Canal, Washington State, and that's very like a silky texture, almost like a pearl color, very, very, very different. So it's good to notice that in America we got over 200 appellations of oyster. So it's a wealth of oyster. There's 19,000 miles of seashore.
So we don't need to import any oysters, huh?
You don't need to import any oyster in America. In fact, that would be something that could be quite successful to export, and it may happen, but for us, it's a great
So now
place.
we have these oysters, but we need to know a little secret from you. How do you open those?
That's
you know,
the
there's
secret.
so many oysters that we can eat now. We have to open them up, unless you
Absolutely.
come, but you can't be everywhere at the same time. So
Well, oysters are quite easy to open. I mean, what you get to think, we're gonna open like a.
first of all, you have a special knife for those, right?
Yes, it's called a shucker. So it's a short, thick blade not very sharp, but sturdy, that allowed you to get into it. So to open an oyster...
And then so you recommend you put it on a cloth, you don't
Always
put it on your
a rack.
hands because it does cut, the shell is very...
The shell cut, and sometimes you made a mistake and you stab yourself. So the true miracle is I don't have any stigmata, as I said. So it's no point, no nails into my hand. So you put them basically in a towel. You're gonna put them on the top, very sturdy. The flat part being the top, it's gonna be in the top. You get to find, an oyster is like a woman. You cannot force them. You get to find the right spot. There's no way you're gonna fight a woman. There's no way you're gonna fight an oyster. You always use the batter.
That's a good image.
Thank you. So you've got to find this little ing here where you're gonna put the knife. So basically, when you get this position, you know you find it. The knife is staying. And a good analogy is like when you try to open a can of paint with a screwdriver, the first thing you look is to find when you're gonna put your screwdriver, you know? And then after you don't stab, you grind it. You grind it until you find this position where the knife is in. And you use the leverage, like a screwdriver to open a can of paint. You twist it,
Oh.
open.
And then to make sure the oyster is fresh, you have to have that noise, right?
Yes, the popping is key.
Popping
Yes, if it doesn't pop, it's not a fresh oyster.
And then it should move once we touch it. It should move. I mean, it's alive.
Most of the time, it's happened also that the oyster being kept under ice are stunned by too cold, so they're basically lethargic.
Oh.
So we will not find that unless we take them out of the water and touch them right away.
So now I have a lemon here, but I think you have a different take on lemon on oysters or sauce on oysters, right?
Yes, but I like my oyster like my woman, naked. So I just put a drop of lemon, which keep the integrity of the flavor. I mean, I'm not a big aficionado of like a sauce into it. That's going to mask the taste of the oyster. Since they're all different, why not testing them? And the best way to test an oyster, it's always to test two oysters. It's very easy to talk about the difference between a Pinot and a Merlot, but if I said this is a Pinot, you try, and this is a Merlot, you try, you understand what I'm talking about because you get your own experience about it. So,
well, thank you for that lesson of oysters. Now we're going to eat those. Thank you.
All right, thank you.